All right, you've been out on a few dates with a man and things are going great. And then one night you feel a little extra vulnerable. So you open up and you share some personal experiences that you've been going through. Oh yeah, he listens patiently, but then he just ends it with, sounds tough. So what exactly is going on? Why can somebody hear you pour out your soul after you open up and then just simply tell you, that's tough? It's because you're dealing with an emotionally unavailable man. Hi, I'm Jarrels. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I help couples find their happy. Before we get started, be sure to stay tuned to the end because I've got a surprising fact about emotionally unavailable men that no one is talking about. Let's get started. To understand why men are emotionally unavailable in their romantic relationships, we first need to take a look at what are the possible causes that could create this in the first place. While there are many, these are the most common. The first of which is childhood experiences. Early childhood experiences influence children as they're growing up, and it has a lasting effect that can last well into adulthood. Now, if they're positive childhood experiences with openness and sharing, then they're going to be able to express themselves emotionally and they're going to be available when they're an adult. However, if their childhood is plagued with negative or bad circumstances or situations that caused them to clam up or close in anyway, they're going to be unavailable emotionally in the future as adults. So there are three major things that can happen to a child, especially in early childhood, that could create a situation that would cause them to clam up emotionally. The first one is emotional neglect. Most childhood neglect happens when children's needs emotionally aren't being met. Now, their parents may be dismissive, they may be unreceptive, or they might just flat out ignore what's going on with the child. When that happens, children who experience this type of neglect can actually end up bottling up their emotions and holding on to them tightly in order to protect them, which in adulthood manifests itself as them being unable to express emotion or unwilling to take the chance. The next possible cause is abuse. And when children experience abuse, it can be linked then, all of their emotions can be linked to fear, abandonment, and even worthlessness. So they are going to make sure to keep themselves protected so that they don't feel vulnerable in the future. Last one here is trauma. Now, yes, it's related to abuse and neglect, the other things. However, this one is not only a little bit deeper, it goes a little bit wider. It includes things like death of a loved one, death of a pet, or even living through a natural disaster. What this can lead to is an inability to trust or feel safe in any type of circumstance because of what might happen down the road. I do have a few specific examples that you might be able to use to relate to either yourself or to a man in your life who is emotionally unavailable. The first one is having a parent who is constantly critical or belittling. Somebody who just cannot seem to find anything positive with anything you're doing. The next one is a parent who's emotionally distant or unavailable themselves. It makes it very difficult for them to teach their children how to relate and connect emotionally with others. The next is a child who experiences physical or sexual abuse, may associate emotions with fear or pain and try to block them out. Or possibly even a child who witnesses domestic violence might associate violence with emotional connection. The next of the major causes, we touched on childhood experiences. The next one is a fear of intimacy. The first thing we need to be able to do is define or come up with a working definition for intimacy. I define intimacy as a feeling of closeness and connectedness, the ability to talk to, share, and open up with a special person that allows you to feel connected, feel loved, feel trusted, and to be able to do this without fear of judgment. Intimacy is essential for healthy relationships because it allows people to feel loved, supported, and cared for. Now, why is intimacy so important for healthy relationships? Let me give you a couple of really important reasons. The first one is it builds trust. It creates a space for you to be vulnerable enough to build the trust necessary to really feel connected and bonded closer together. The next one is increased communication. We all know that communication is crazy important for healthy relationships. And when it encourages open and honest communication, it allows for couples to be able to share things with each other that they can't with anyone else. And this allows them to end conflicts and avoid miscommunications in the first place. It also enhances emotional support. People who feel emotionally connected with each other find it easier to deal with stress and to manage difficult times. The last of these is it promotes physical intimacy. Emotional intimacy is often a prerequisite for physical intimacy. Why? Because we don't like to physically be intimate with somebody that we don't feel connected with on an emotional level. Next, let's talk about how men might express their fear of intimacy. There are a number of ways, but here are some common examples. The first is avoiding commitment. Okay, they might be okay to date you, but they don't want to strap it down or label it as a relationship. The next one, this is a biggie, is they'll often sabotage their relationships. Men who are afraid of intimacy will oftentimes sabotage their own relationships by picking fights, flirting with other people, or even creating drama. One of the last ways that men will express their fear of intimacy is to withdraw emotionally. All right, men who are afraid of intimacy will oftentimes end up acting out in risky behaviors. Being promiscuous or even substance abuse are often things that men will use to mask their fear of intimacy so that they don't have to engage emotionally. Now, here's a couple of things you can do if you're in a relationship with a man who is emotionally unavailable. If you've decided to stick it out with them, it's critically important that you're patient with them because it takes time to get over a fear of intimacy if that's what they've got. You just need to be sure that you set clear expectations. The next is communicate openly and share your needs. Let your partner know exactly how their fear of intimacy is affecting you and the relationship. Be honest and set clear expectations of what you want your relationship to be. All right, one of the next things you can do here is encourage therapy. It helps them get through all of the stuff they've got to work through much quicker if they've got a guide or a helper to get them through it. We talked about setting expectations. It's now time to set boundaries. It's important to set these boundaries because it then allows you to protect yourself from emotional harm that you could otherwise experience. Least but not last, seek support yourself. Use friends, family, or even a therapist to help you get through the things you need to figure out if this is the type of relationship that you want and how best the two of you can get through it. You made it this far, and now I get to share with you the surprising fact about emotionally unavailable men that no one else is talking about. And it is this: emotionally unavailable men crave intimacy even though they fear it. I know this sounds probably counterintuitive, but it's extremely common. They have a fear of intimacy, but it doesn't mean they don't want it. They just don't know how to use it, exercise it, or to experience it. Because humans are social creatures, we crave connections with other people. But when we've had a lifetime of bad experiences, it takes us a while to open back up and get to a place where we can accept others emotionally and on a healthy level. This conflict of both craving and fearing emotional connection can be confusing not only for the man, but his partner as well. This means that the man is wanting to get closer to his partner, but is also afraid to do so. And so it ends up sending mixed signals, it gets confusing, and it feels really, really awkward. This can not only lead to frustration, but also headache if you don't know how to proceed. This is why it's important to get outside help, especially if you're having trouble getting past a specific hurdle, such as setting clear boundaries or learning to communicate open and honestly with your partner. But rest assured, with enough time, effort, and willingness from both parties, there is a way to salvage and get connected in that relationship and to overcome the fear of intimacy that's keeping you guys apart. And that will allow you to form a more fulfilling relationship. Well, that's all I've got for this video. If you found it informational, please do give me a like and subscribe, and be sure to add in the comment section any experiences that you've had in being in a relationship with a man who's emotionally unavailable. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.